All right, welcome to the Cinematography Legends podcast. Loving having East Coast people on, and today I'm very grateful to have you on. And a great career, and I'm excited to talk to you about a lot of things. So let's get right to it. Welcome to the show, please. Barry Markowitz is here.
Thank you.
So, yeah, we were talking a little bit on the phone and stuff beforehand, and I met you through a mutual friend of mine who's awesome. He said, you got to have him on. He's a character. And I said, of course he is. He's in
Shane Stanley.
Yes. Love him.
Let's get a plug in for him.
He's amazing. That guy's done more.
Talented director, that's for sure. And a human being. Yeah,
no, I like the way he says something and he does it. And that's so hard to find in anyone. Like he said, I'll call you at 5. And you're like, oh, it's 5. Like not 4:59, not 5:01, but it's 5. He's an amazing guy. Done so much. I'm grateful to him. But we had talked about certain things like your influences and how you didn't have a TV even growing up to inspire you to be a cinematographer. So what was that spark that got you started?
Well, we didn't have a TV because my parents were Orthodox. My mother was an Auschwitz survivor, my father too. Wow. So we spoke Yiddish in the house, and you know, they weren't speaking Yiddish on TV. You know, and that was kind of not blasphemy, but we had to study. So, you know, I finally convinced them. So that was that. I got into Italian films. You know, I worked in an Italian restaurant for many years, since I was 9 years old. And you could work there, but don't touch the food, you know. You know that dilemma. What's a Jewish dilemma? Free pork. Oh, Jewish dilemma. So I had a tough time with that, but I worked there. Nobody spoke English, so I went from Yiddish and listening to Italian. And my name there was not Barry Markowitz, but was Mazzo Christ, which in Italian means Christ killer. But anyway, the guy had a picture of Mussolini over the stove. But so I kind of grew up in that, and then I started watching a little later on Italian films, subtitled. You know, all the great directors, De Sica and Mastriani and all that good stuff, you know, Vittorio Gassman. I could go on and on, but I enjoyed them because they were just so, first of all, they were black and white, which brought in a little bit more of that realistic feeling. And most of them were about after World War II, you know, stories like that. And, you know, I could relate to that because I was spoon-fed on, you know, Auschwitz stories and World War II. There goes my dog. Rosie, be quiet. Get in the house. Okay, sit down. Okay, fine.
Awesome. We can have her on.
Oh, where is she? Rosie. Oh, can you see her?
What's up, Rosie?
She's a coonhound, so anything that moves, she goes nuts. I can't watch TV if there's a dog.
Oh, okay.
Oh, God. Stop it, Rosie. Come here, I'll give you something. That usually fakes her out. So I don't know. I just went on and I got lucky to be able to, you know, progress. I wasn't in film at all. I didn't know really anything about films, just watching movies and stuff. But, you know, my thing was working and playing ice and roller hockey. I didn't, and I went on to go to Israel for many years. I graduated the Hebrew University in Jerusalem with a degree in Holocaust study because that was my, you know, spoon-fed education at the dinner table.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just I kept going, you know, and I started to learn about the other side of life. You know, and slowly but surely, when I got a job, I was still working in the restaurant until I was like 19 and became the head waiter. It was like, you know, a lot of this kind of guys, you know. We had Paul Castellano, Joe Gallo, you know, and Larry, his brother, and even Andrew Dice Clay was the busboy with me. So I did all that. I learned the kitchen, how to, you know, about food. Then they let me in the dining room, become a busboy, and then a waiter. And at the same time, I was teaching in yeshiva kids that about the Holocaust, but it kind of like they were interested, but you know, there were a lot of other things going on in society, so that wasn't really the mainstay. And then my father said to me, you know, you want to you know, be a waiter the rest of your life, which is okay, but you won't see your family. You'll be working weekends and this, that. So I got a job, just to make it short, in a rental house. At the restaurant and the other place, I was making like $1,500 a week, which is a lot of dough today.
Wow.
And there at the rental house, 3 trains and a walk to 12th Avenue, I was cleaning camera cases for $65 take home a week.
Wow.
But at the end of the tunnel, there was something. I got lucky. I got a first job with Garrett Brown, who was the inventor of the Steadicam. I went with the camera. I didn't know anything about Steadicam. I went with the camera out to Washington. We shot for a weekend, 40 takes on Willie Mays, walking down an escalator. I knew nothing about Steadicam or pulling focus.
Wow.
We get to the dailies in the morning. 38 of them were out of focus. First job. And I didn't know, you know, I was still working in a rental house. I did them a favor by showing up for a nightmare. And Garrett turned, he said, one was acceptable. One take was acceptable.
Wow.
Garrett turns around and he says, don't worry, all you need is one. And tomorrow you'll do better. So the next day I got half of them in focus. So that started my career with Garrett Brown. He hired me for so many years. People heard about that. And all of a sudden I was working with, you know, Ted Churchill, may rest in peace, and Jack, and Nicola Pecorini, and all these great Steadicam operators. And I was going around the world with Garrett. A lot of people picked up on that. So I started working with Bob Giraldi as an assistant with commercials. And he was top of the heap then. So I was making all this dough, and all of a sudden, you know, from $65 a week, I was making thousands. Thought I was robbing the bank.
Yeah.
And then slowly I became a DP. I bought my own 16 camera. I went to Israel, which I'm familiar with. I spent about 4 months in the desert in Sinai shooting a Bedouin film that I wrote. My father, rest in peace, gave me some dough. And it didn't get me any work, but it showed I could shoot. And then I started shooting a million things for free and got some kind of a cockamamie reel together. And I started working. I lucked out. I was an assistant cameraman on a small film that Robert Duvall directed about gypsies, a 9-year-old gypsy boy going on 40. And, you know, he'd show up to the set every day and say, "Fuck you, Bobby." It was unbelievable situation. But I became friends with Duvall for many years to this day. And he introduced me. I was at his farm one day and he throws me a script and he says, "I'll be back in about an hour, finish it." I said, "An hour?"
Wow.
He says, "Yeah, you'll finish it in an hour." So there's Sling Blade in my lap. And I read it. I said to Bobby, "Does he have a DP?" He says, "I don't know." I said, "Well, will you call him and give him the heads up on me?" So he says, "No, you do it." So I called him cold, Billy. And I had to call 3 times because he's a night bird. And I was living in Manhattan, putting like $4 worth of coins into the telephone booth because I didn't want him to see I'm calling the same number like I'm desperate. So if he wasn't home, there'd be no number. So that was wild. So Billy he asked me if I shot anything. I said, well, I did one small film for $500,000 in Israel with Gregory Peck's daughter, Cecilia, and Adrian Pazdar, a love story. Barry Primus was in it. And he said, send it to me. So I sent it to him and he asked me how many days and how much money.
Wow.
Because Sling Blade was about $1 million and they didn't have a lot of money and no time. Am I boring you with this?
No, this is what I live for.
Yeah, this is good stuff. So where was I? So he says, I said I shot in 18 days and I pulled all my favors from the rental house and I put the Steadicam on and I shot and we shot it. It looked like a high-end film, you know, although I hate all the lighting in it. Just kidding. But I see all my mistakes. I see all my mistakes, you know, and what the hell am I doing? The guy's walking at night. It looks like Christmas. you know, so it's like, but we didn't have money to have lights come from the top down. So I just blasted everything. So it's hard for me to look at, but there were some home runs in that film. And it doesn't really matter about I mean, it matters because I'm trying to get my career going, but it's all about the script. You know, Duval told me once we had an issue on when I shot The Apostle, because after he gave me that script, he says to me in the farm, I know I'm getting out of sync, but he says, go shoot Sling Blade and then go practice on Sling Blade. That's what his exact words were. And then when you finish there, you'll shoot my film, The Apostle. So, I mean, it was wild, you know. So I practiced on Sling Blade. And since then, you know, I've shot 5 movies with Billy Bob directing, All the Pretty Horses and a whole bunch of other good stuff. And that's kind of how my career got started. From Sling Blade, which was, you know, it was unbelievable. And Crazy Heart, you know, Jeff Bridges shot that with Scott Cooper directing, and Jeff got the Academy Award after like 55 movies, and he's thanking everybody. And then he thanks, he says, I want to thank Barry Markowitz, director of photography. You did such a good job.
Wow.
I'm lucky I had one hand free to answer the phone. Yeah, joke.
Gotcha. No, I got it. I got that. That's so practicing on Sling Blade, which I thought was beautifully shot. But do you do that when you look at your work? Do you find the flaws, or can you?
I hate my work. No, I mean, you always look at it and you don't look at the good. I look at the good. I know the good, but you know, I mean, okay, so great, Barry, great, but you know, look, I didn't invent the stuff. You know what I'm saying? I didn't invent cinematography. And all the great guys, and I take my hat off to them, you know, the ASC and the non-ASC and all the great photographers. You know, we didn't stand there hand cranking a film, you know, or so we learn from other people, and then you put your own spin on it, you know, and you try to do cool things, you know, or use less light, use that one light bulb, you know, or make it appear that you're using that one light bulb. Producers love that. So, you know.
But we had talked also, you said that you don't really watch anything for inspiration, but I believe that we have watched so much that the collective unconscious has gathered all these shots in our head, and we can just pick them up later. Like, you're going to do something that you saw, but maybe you don't even realize you're doing it, you know, but it's through watching so many movies throughout your life.
Well, you know, I get out of bed and I sit on the camera and you know, you start with what's needed, you know, the bread and butter, the master and the other stuff, or you make it all one master, or there's so many ways to skin a cat, and you know, it's just that I try to like to go with my feeling. I mean, you block it out for weeks, you know, beforehand, so you don't just show up. Oh, okay, I'm going to try this, you know, because you'll never get done. You have to have some kind of a pattern or something to latch onto. That can change, and that, you know, and it can only get better. Otherwise you don't pull the trigger. So, you know, you try that. I mean, you look at De Palma, you look at all these great guys doing 360s, you know, and there are different cam and this and that. But, you know, you have to be true to the script. And if it's a great dialogue and great writing and what the people are saying, you really give a shit about. You don't want to disturb that, because once you start moving around, there's another element in there that, you know, or another handheld, or there's another person in there. I mean, if it serves the film, great. Look, Cassavetes, you know, that kind of feeling. But, you know, you just don't want to fuck it up. So, and take away, you know, My Dinner with Andre, 2 people in a booth, you know. So why are you moving? Why are you distracting? I have a big feeling for that kind of photography. And, you know, not to say you don't move the camera. You do move the camera, but when it's appropriate, you know, you don't want to zoom in or track in to heighten things. I mean, you can, I do it, you know, I contradict myself, but you do it, but you got to watch out, because, you know, it's like adding music to a scene where you make people feel something, which helps, which is part of the deal. You know,
Yeah,
it's like eating breakfast.
Together, huh? All that stuff clicks together. It's a beautiful thing.
All that stuff clicks together. But so if you don't overdo it, then when you do it, it has more meaning, you know.
I wanted to ask you too, you shot some amazingly beautiful women. I mean, bar none. Jessica Biel, Penelope Cruz, Mina Savari, even Laura
All that.
Graham.
All that.
So how did you go about the difference of these women and lighting them? Do some of them want specific things, lights themselves, or did you go in and look at the structure of their face to find out? Or how do you light the differences for all these they're beautiful women?
First, I tell them, look, you have to develop a rapport first. I usually do it through humor. You know, I like comedy, and I like, you know, who doesn't? I mean, but I try to gain people's respect by just being me and coming from the heart. So it's usually with humor. Rob Reiner always tells me, Barry, 2 Jews, 3 opinions. So, I mean, it's like, yeah, and I tell them some jokes, not jokes, but, you know, things that are appropriate, and got to watch out today what you say. But, you know, they're human beings. They're real people. I haven't met any actresses, or actors, as they say, that are of the female gender that, you know, are just like, so, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that. I ask them what they feel their best side is, so that saves me time. I don't have to do lighting tests to see what's going on. I could, you know, walk around 180 and see what's best, or do it with a lens and see what's best, you know. I'd make some comments, you know. I like to shoot a little above, looking down, not much, a few inches from the eye line. You know, I don't want to shoot below it because I don't want anything like Miss Piggy on Hee Haw. You know,
Yeah.
Or to get, I used to shoot Bobby from underneath. He used to start going nuts, saying, you know, I don't want any turkey necks in this movie. You know, so that was funny. But with the female gender, I'm, you know, I don't really give it that much thought, because I know what I'm going to put out there with their, you know, praise is going to be fine. And, you know, I try to avoid putting light on the face. You know, shadow is a little better, not dark, but just not in the sun naturally. Or, you know, I will change it up, but whatever's conducive to making a good photograph. When they're in distress in the scene or something, naturally, I'm not trying to make them look like the Queen of Sheba, right. You know. And I kind of tell them what I'm doing also, to make them feel, or whoever it is, what I'm doing. And, you know, if it's a great angle, I'll say, you know, that last shot, that really sucked, you know, and they laugh and this, that, they're at ease, you know, and I don't get too chatty because they're in their own head. Yeah. So I don't want to mess that up. But basically, I worked with Sofia Vergara, Joe Manganiello's, and I did a film with her, and she was very knowledgeable because she was a model. So she would tell me, no, with that lens, no, oh, you're too close. Oh yeah, I mean, she'd speak her mind. She was like,
but that's kind
incredibly
of cool, though.
funny. She was hilarious.
When they understand the art craft side of things, I think that's awesome. I like it too, because it's like, wow, they're really they know what they want. It's so cool. Then there's no questions. Sometimes I like that.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Yeah, like, what do you want? I'm on a 50. And they go, okay. And they understand what the 50 does. I mean, I'm like, wow, that's so cool. You're interested in what I do. And I'm interested. Like, I don't know. I like it sometimes. But that's why I was asking you if any of them had a
thing. You know, some of that dialogue happened, you know, with Sophia, this, that. And at the end of the take, I'd say, you know, it was 100 millimeters. It wasn't a 50.
Oh, nice.
Just kidding. I would tell her, just kidding. You know,
that's great.
And Bobby Duvall knew the lens is good. You know, he used to say, can you give me my close up and he, he'd go like that, I don't want this, I don't want this. Give me this. Where are you? Are you here? Are you here? Are you here? So
Right.
he would have a great understanding, as of all the directors I work with. They know their stuff. It's not their first rodeo.
So
You know.
Duvall knows to a T everything, right? As far as lens length and all
Well,
that.
yeah, Billy Bob and Reiner and all these great human beings. I wouldn't say, I was going to say great directors, but they've heard that enough. The difference is another joke that I'm going to give you. They're talking about how great things are and people are. They say, and I hope I can say this. The difference between brown nosing somebody and shit on your face? Depth perception. So, you don't want to go up there, took us too far, or
Right.
anybody's. You just want to be yourself and hope that they, by that point, they like you for your talent, that. But it's all about being in the trenches with somebody. You're working 15 hours a day and you're working, 5-6 days a week, whatever it is. And, that's where the relationships come. You already know, what you're going to do and how it's going to come out. Each frame better than the next, and continuity and all those great things. Plus you have in your back pocket these days the DIT, the DI, the digital intermediary, where you can make day night without a problem, and you don't have to flag off that back wall, and you can do that later. Although you don't want to do that, so you have a lot of helpers. You don't have that light meter taking the light, and and if you want to get rid of these two earrings I have, then you can do that later also. So I don't know. It's just it's become a lot easier, and especially with the cameras, the Alexa and there's 10-stop range in exposure. Within a point. You have to put down the palette, and then you can take it from there. But it's so much easier today with film.
You wonder what the guy.
I shot crazy hard on film, and all these films that I was lucky enough to be a part of, and you could change it later, but it's you don't have that range, of what you can do to a film. So everybody looks like a genius.
When
you
you
can't
wonder
tell.
what guys would have done, like Delacoli would have done back in the day if he didn't have to use arcs. You know what I mean?
Right. You look. Everyone I say looks like a genius, including myself. And I'd like to see the measure of somebody when you walk into dailies before you do the number on the film. Then you can see what a person's about.
Yeah.
But more is less, basically, is the philosophy. Whether it's more camera or less camera, or more intrusive, less intrusive, more lighting, less lighting. Less is better. I used to teach, I still do, around in the schools, NYU, New School, and this, that, or workshops up in Maine. And when we're lighting a scene, I just say, start with the lights off, one lamp at a time, so you don't have 5 lamps on in the room. And one lamp could do it for you.
Wow.
Naturally, you subsidize it with other little inkies and dinkies and whatever, or a car headlight coming through the window, once in a while. All these gags, but depend on what you have and what you dealt with. But you want to do something creative. I love looking at movies. That's what I'm all about. But when guys say to me, we're going to watch this and study it and this, that, I say, definitely, we should do that, sit down. But in the back of my head, I'm saying, well, what am I going to do? Shoot my scene like that?
Yeah.
I don't want that. I want to do what's right for the scene, but I don't want to say, oh, remember that shot in this movie and that and this, that. I mean, that can help if you want to do a moving shot or something and that you can get creative with. But I don't know. It's weird. You try to do your own thing. As I said, we didn't invent it. So I try to put a new spin on everything, you know.
Yeah.
But it's been done. It's been done before,
Yeah.
you know. So I'm not fooling anybody. There, I still love creating, and you know, I'll remember, like you said in the beginning, all that subconscious stuff that, you know. But I won't have a book there with notes. The notes are here.
So no,
Well, basically, the notes are in here.
Yeah, true. And you don't go in with lookbooks or anything, or make any LUTs or anything beforehand? None of that?
No, no, I don't know. Maybe I'm not hip enough, you know.
It's all good, man.
You know, I still don't have that. When we go on the scout, where's the sun coming up? We're going to be there at 5 a.m. It's got to be right, you know. I don't have the app. You know, either I turn to my gaffer or I knock on somebody's door.
Right here, Barry. It's right here.
Yeah. Well, I knock on somebody's door, somebody who lives there. I said, when does the sun come up and where? And the guy's going to tell me.
Right. So, yeah. So,
or he's going to say, you can't shoot here.
So tech-wise, you don't even, the technology that's available sometimes for you being old schoolish, you're not can even devy into that stuff.
Well, look, if people need it, like the guy needs Lux, you know, or he needs all this information, then I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, no, we don't need it. I'm all for the technology. Don't get me wrong. But I don't want it to interfere with what I'm doing, you know. It sounds like I'm not into that stuff, but I am. I shouldn't. I should be just totally honest. But you know, when it gets too complicated, technically, it just spin in my head. I'm always there. You know, when you do green screen and when you do special effects, you know, bring everybody. Help me. You know, you know, that's without doubt. But when it comes to blocking and the style of shooting, that stuff, once it's past the technical stuff on the beginning of the film, when a lot of people have to know a lot of things, and I'm 100% there for that. You know, I'm a hillbilly. I show up early. I'm on the phone early. I'm making flights to California to meet them personally, so it's not just on the thing. So I'm all in, but you know, I just don't want to be burdened with tons of stuff that it all does matter. But you know, if you're talking about a stunt guy and stunts, let's get the head of the stunt stunt committee on the phone, so that what I'm saying is jiving what he's thinking, and maybe he's thinking is not jiving what I'm thinking, and I can't do what I want to do. Yeah. And I got to respect that guy because he's got more experience in there, you know.
Yeah.
So,
that's
if that answers your question, I don't know.
Oh, for sure. Something I saw too for wetlands, there was different ethnicities you're using. Are you lighting differently for each of those, or do you find?
What are you trying to be polite? Is you're saying there's black people? How do you light black people? They used to ask me, "Can you light black people?" You know, I say, I didn't even know how to answer. I mean, in film, it was a little bit different because you had to push more in. Otherwise, you wind up with Gordon Willis with nobody on the screen.
Right.
You know, when some of the scenes were too dark. But, you know, Duval told me he was on the set and he'd say to somebody, "Oh, this is dark. We're going to be reshooting this." And yeah, they had to reshoot that. Wow. But no, I didn't. I never pay attention to that. You know, I mean, skin tones, there are different levels of it, you know, like there's different levels of anything, you know, so, you know, different shades of darkness, light, dark, medium. But when you want to see emotion or something, you may want to use a fill card or something, or to see the eyes better. You know, what you try and do is you separate them from the background if you have a dark tone. So you want the face to pop out from the background that's behind them. So if you're going to have a dark background with a dark face in the front, you're in trouble. Yeah. You know, show card or no show card, asking them to wear a white T-shirt or not, which is not going to fly. So you caress the background, and then the foreground will come to you. That's basically what I like to do in anything, black, white, yellow, green, doesn't matter. But yeah, if you can deal with the background, like if you want a silhouette, you put white on the background. The silhouette comes to the front. If you want the opposite, you know, you just tweak the background so there's a little bit of something there, and you're not in the black hole, and you're not in the abyss. And the front will come to you. That added on with a little bit of fill card if necessary, but that doesn't happen too often, especially with the range of the camera. You know, it's going to deal with that, and it tells you on the scope right there. You know, I would poke the assistant, you know, or the DIT guy. You know, is there enough there? Is there enough there? Because later I can't put more in. I can, but the image will deteriorate. So he says, look, play it safe, light the face, and then we'll bring it down later. So I cringe. I put a little extra bounce in there. And it's like shooting somebody driving in a car at night. You know, I mean, there's no great way to light that because there's no light in a car. There's no more radio with the light coming out of it. So, you know, you try and do your thing, and then and you cringe while you shoot it. And then you have the director coming over saying, is he going to be that bright? And you know, you say, God forbid, no, but just trust me on this one, you know?
Yeah.
I'll bring it back later, or I'll bring it down later, and at least we'll have a palette. When I was shooting All the Pretty Horses, Billy Bob comes to me and he says, you know, we're shooting Matt Damon and Lucas Black out here. They're camping. I said, great, we'll put some fire light, you know, campfire. No, I don't want campfire. I said, okay, then we'll do some moonlight. No, it's moonless night. I said, what do you want, Claude Rains and the Invisible Man over here? You know, what are you talking about? You know, so he says, look, I want it to look like when you go into a dark room and your eyes adjust to the light. And then after 5 minutes, you can see everything. There's no light on in the room.
Yeah.
But you can see everything. I said, okay, I can do that. And I go, oh my God, what the hell's he talking about? I mean, I know what he's talking about, but you know, try to get that on film. You have to lay down a palette. So I start laying down a palette and the whole scene's lit. And there's a fall off of darkness, fine. But he comes to me, Billy, he says, what's this? I said, don't worry. We'll fix it later. It's going to look dark. And then I turned to the assistant cameraman. I said, hey, you told me it's going to look dark, right?
That's awesome.
Oh my God, terror.
Yeah.
You know,
so
I didn't sleep.
Are you?
I didn't sleep. I used to get up at 4 a.m. and call the lab. What's the negative look like? You know, he says, bring Depends to the dailies because they're going to all be pissing in their pants how great it looks. Bring your Depends, he used to say. Then I go back to sleep. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, I've in this day and age, it's so nice to have it right there. Just do a quick playback, look at your waveforms, and move on.
Look at the Lux. You'll see what the story is.
So are you a light the space or light the face kind of guy? From what I'm gathering, you're lighting the space because you want the separation, but you're also putting the fill in the face. Do you have one or the other?
No, I usually don't use the fill.
Oh.
That's just for if you're shooting somebody very dark and they're in a dark room and the mood is such that you're not lighting, it's not midday, and you need to see their pores in their skin, the pores, yeah, and the eyes, and you know, you've got to see there somewhere. So I don't use it much. You know, I try not to.
So you're like the space guy rather than the face guy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the whole picture. When we're setting up a scene, I'm into natural light. I like using lights when it's called for. You know, you use the mercury, you find a street at night that's got all lit from the top down, mercury vapor, and whatever it is, you can fix that later. and you know, you'll need a China ball when you're walking down the street with somebody. That street, the street's lit up, you can see everything. It probably overlit because there's powerful lights today. And if they're walking down the street, I'll make sure that there's a whole bunch of, we'll time out how long the walk is and see what stores they're passing by that are closed, and ask them to leave their lights on so the still comes by and lights them from the store. You know, so maybe I'll have a China ball or walking with me, you know, 10 feet away if need be. But I'd rather go that way than to start lighting up the streets and the trucks and the this and the that. And, you know, I get a lot more done. I like to use Steadicam as a second camera. And when we're not using it, the operator, you know, we get a deal on the Steadicam. He'll sit on the wheels of the second camera, and I'll shoot first camera. And that saves me putting down any track.
Yeah.
With, you know, wasting at least an hour a day doing that. I use a slide and glide so I can do a mini move of 3 or 4 feet, which should be enough, uninterrupting the scene. I mean, you know, that kind of stuff. I do use a dolly when I'm using longer lenses because I don't want it to look like shaky cam.
Yeah.
Plus, focus on longer lenses, as we all know, is more difficult. And so I have my hand on I use an O'Connor head. I usually use the wheels, but on the O'Connor head on long lenses, I hold the barrel of the lens also. Yeah, does that look like I'm holding the barrel of the lens? Yeah. And I can correct the assistant if he's off instantaneously, so I won't lose the shot. You know, it'll be a half second, goes a little soft. I could bring it right back in quickly. So all that kind of stuff, especially when you're doing these kinds of shots that are, you know.
Yeah.
Although I'm using, my philosophy is to try to get into person's head. So the close-ups I like doing, and thinking of Italian surrealism and some great close-ups. I'm liking like 21 or 27 millimeters, like right here, where, you know, right here, rather than a long zoom that's into here with the background defocused. So I'm using a 20, 21, you know, non-bending or anything, because they don't bend at that millimeter. But when you're in 2-3 feet and you can see the backgrounds, you know, there's big backgrounds now and they're tinged soft, which pops the person out of the film because the focus is on the face. So when you project it, they're jumping out of the screen inside some place in there somewhere, rather than a long lens where everything is a squash.
Yeah.
I will use long lenses in that because I try to shoot as much as I can for the editor and the director. But, you know, and I get that from saving time with not using a dolly and stuff. And all the time I saved, I put it in the pocket of the director so we can do more takes. And everybody loves that. So, you know, we fooled them again, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah. Is there a lens through your whole career that you like the characteristics of? I know that.
Yeah, I like the 27. You know, it does a lot of stuff. They all do. Look at Badlands. I heard Badlands they shot with one lens, with a 40.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think it's true. I'm not, you know, I don't want to be that film aficionado. Did I say the word right? Aficionado? Aficionado, yeah. So, you know, you put a 40, 50 feet away, it looks like a 20, you know, or, you know, and you put it close up and it's a close up, you know. Put it somewhere in the middle, it's something else. So I don't know that you can do that with any lens, but that one has a little more versatility. I'm pretty sure it was shot with a 40.
And you were a Panavision guy mostly, correct, through most of your career?
Well, I worked in Furco, which was a rental house for many years. And I used, you know, I had friends in Panavision, you know, get on the phone, order equipment. And then camera service would call me up, you know. You owe us. What are you doing? My great friend Charlie, may he rest in peace. You know, or Peter Schnitzler and all those guys at Panavision, you know. I made your career. You know, you got to give us the order. They saved me a lot of times. Woodland Hills and all this. You know, I said I got no money. They got no money, you know.
Yeah.
The producer's going to call you up. I said, he's going to try to Christian you down on the price. You like that? So just go with it. And, you know, they usually gave me great deals. 2 cameras, no waiting, and all the lenses. And, you know, it was harder on all the pretty horses because I shot it in anamorphic. So I would get all the big guys would have their lenses on the shelves that nobody can touch. So I got the bottom of the barrel.
Oh.
And, you know, anamorphic, Series C, Series E, whatever it was, the anamorphic was, you know, is a tough cookie because, you know, everybody says, oh, we shot wide open, this, that. Yeah, good luck, buddy. You know, half your stuff is out of focus. More assistant cameramen will fight off anamorphic films, you know, because it halves your focus. You know, you put on a regular lens, you know, you put a 50 on, and it's got a certain depth of field. In anamorphic, you put a 50 on, it looks like 100, and it's got that's the fact, and it's got half the depth of field. So instead of 10 feet, now you're dealing with 5 feet. So I would shoot everything at T11 and T8 in the movie because the assistants were my buddies. I didn't want them fired, but the depth of field still was minimal, you know. So even at an 8 and 11, it wasn't like, oh, forever depth of field. It looked like a regular lens. So, you know,
And
the
then
only problem was
your lighting needs to go through the roof, right?
Well, everything was so lit up.
Yeah.
I knew that it wasn't going to look like that. And I confirmed that with the lab and stuff. I said, you guys, you know, I'm shooting at this and that. He says, it's all relative. It's all relative to this and that. They gave me some mumbo jumbo, and I believed it.
Right.
And it was all relative to everything. You know, an 8 is going to still look like a 4 with this lens, you know. And, you know, there were times on All the Pretty Horses where I'd light something dark scene that was all lit up, and interior, Matt Damon used to walk in with sunglasses on. It was unbelievable. He was a gem to work with.
Who on that note, who blows you away with professionalism that you've worked with?
Jeff Bridges. Jeff Bridges knows more about photography than moi.
And nails lines and everything, right?
Forget about that. He knows. And Crazy Heart, I put his name on the slate next to mine, second DP. The guy's a freaking genius. You know, he's got each film, he does a book.
Right.
He uses the wide lux, you know, the wide lux camera. You see sights, you know. And he's got pictures of the shoot. I'm in one of his books, blah, blah, blah. But he's got all these great from on the set for years. And his website is to die for. So we became buddies, you know, I guess. And, you know, we'd go in the trailer and I play harmonica and he plays. We had T-Bone Burnett and Steve Bruton, who was on the set all the time, may rest in peace. And we'd go in after the shoot, and I said, you know, we got to get out. He'd drink the Tito's. He'd be a big fan of Tito's before it was famous. And we'd all be in there after the shoot, and, you know, I'd say, I got to go, you know, I got to get out of here. I got to get up. He says, well, we all got to get up, you know. So he was terrific. He was terrific. I would collaborate with him. He'd tell me, you know, Barry, I'm going to do this. Maybe you want to do that. And, you know, we were in a car parked on the side of the street at night. And, you know, I hate lighting cars. And so I had some street light, but it wasn't going into the car. And he was in the driver's seat waiting for Maggie Gyllenhaal. And he says, oh, I'm so tired. I said, I'm tired too. I said, I hate shooting nights. He says, yeah, let's get out of here early. I said, well, yeah, I got to do this lighting thing. He says, look, I'm going to take my hat off. I'm going to lean out the side of the car and get that mercury vapor on me. So I moved the car up 10 feet, blah, blah, blah. He does that. Boom, we're out there like 2 hours early. So he would help all the time. And we'd talk lenses. Naturally, I cut the conversation and change it to how are the Yankees when the director was around, because I didn't want to offend anybody.
Right.
That we were discussing stuff like that. There was one thing that he got drunk in the house in one scene, and he falls into the bed. right by the lens. And I'm waiting for him at the bottom of the bed to fall into the shot from like 8 feet, crashes into the bed, and his face goes to the pillow right by the lamp at the edge of the bed. So I put the camera down there waiting for him to fall into this 5-inch shot, you know? And he lays down and he puts his head down on the pillow and he says, do you want me to fall here or here or here?
No way.
Oh my God. I said, you're fucking kidding me. And that was it. You know, I just had to hope that it was in focus. So that was that. I mean, Jeff Bridges has got to know a lot about, he knows from years of shooting. So, you know, I stole everything he knew, you know.
But it's such a pleasure to work with someone like that, right? Because you're.
Well, look, Billy Bob and Bobby, they
Oh.
knew it also. But, you know, even Scott Cooper knew a lot. They all knew because they weren't born yesterday.
Yeah.
But he had a lot of experience with still photography. And look, he's done 55 movies. So the guy knows everything about everything.
Yeah.
You know, I once was shooting him in a booth with Colin Farrell. And I see that we're shooting and you know, I'm sitting behind Colin, and we're in the booth, and it was unbelievable because I look through the lens and I see, and then my other eye is open and I'm looking at the footage counter and it's down to like 30 feet. And I know there's more of this scene. So I kind of like nudged the assistant and, you know, I moved a little and I whispered something and then we cut. He finished it with like 8 frames left, 8 feet left. And he looks at me and he says, "Bah, you can't talk while I'm doing the scene." I said, you know, I was like white like a sheet, you know. I said, "I know, but you know, the camera was rolling out and I was making up stuff. The battery was down. It was 20 frames. We wouldn't be able to use it anyway." I don't know what got over me. I was just like, I had to say something that made technical sense.
Yeah.
Because I made a big mistake, you know. And then at the end of the day, we went into his trailer again with the music and stuff. And he says, "Bah, I just got to tell you, I'm sorry for what I said before because you're just doing your job. Like I'm doing my job. You're just doing your job."
Yeah.
And I said, "Okay, give me another drink." No, it was like, yeah, he let me off the hook. The guy's so full of love, you know. So he wasn't going to let you feel bad, you know.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So we'll kind of wrap this up just a touch. If you have to go on an island for the rest of your life and bring 3 movies along, what are you bringing?
First of all, I'm going to Coney Island.
Yes. One of my all-time favorites. Requiem for a Dream shot out there. That's
My Yiddish Mama is the first movie. No,
okay.
I don't know. That's a hard one, you know.
That's why
you know, I'm looking like we all loved each other so much. Vittorio Gassman, Giancarlo Giannini, Nino Manfredi, Starola, if I pronounce his name right. Black and white, Italian film. 3 guys in love with the same woman in Italy. Break your heart. Funny, break your heart at the same time. You know, and then there's a Cinema Paradiso, you know, naturally, where they're all saying "Afangul" and all this, throwing crap down from the balcony. I mean, it was like growing up in the restaurant again, you know.
Yeah.
Same thing. And I don't know. There was a great animated Israeli thing, Bashir, that won. It was animated about bad things they did in the Palestinian refugee camp in Lebanon.
Oh, wow.
That was tough, and a couple of them in a tank. The whole movie takes place in a tank. There's a million films, you know. I'm a big fan of Carl Malden.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Baby Doll, Kazan. Oh my God, so sick, so freaking sick. This movie. You got to see it. Way ahead of its time. Eli Wallach and Carl Malden. Carl Malden for me was, forget On the Waterfront. Some of his stuff is just so. Edward G. Robinson, Kate, you know, was it not Cape Fear, but he was a freaking genius. Fred McMurray with the Sorry Wrong Number, Barbara Stanwyck. I mean, just great stuff. You know, as good as the Italian stuff, but different.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting.
I recommend everybody see Baby Doll.
I'm writing it down.
Oh, you'll see it. You'll say, Barry, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you already for doing this. That was awesome.
I hope I'm not in trouble with somebody sees this.
No, it's okay. I'll put a filter.
If anybody's listening, I need a job.
Please get a hold of his. Can you go to your website for that, right?
I got to get some work. You know, I got projects on the back burner, but nothing is going to happen with this Corona.
Yeah.
You know, people are not going into theaters. Let it be on Netflix. That'll be okay. More people see it there anyway. Yeah. But actresses and actors, they're not jumping out to, you know, do scenes and, you know, without masks. And it's just, it hit me hard, like everyone else. But I'm out there trying, you know, making the phone calls. You know, you think you're you know, got into the ASC and stuff. You think you got it made. You got nothing made. You know, you got to have a backup to the backup constantly. You know, most of the jobs I were on, I'm in the middle of the job. I'm thinking, okay, this is over. What's next?
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I want to have a part 2 with you for sure because we haven't. I got a list here. I made a list.
Just scratch the subject. Yeah,
I'd like to be back again, please.
And now, when do I see this, or when do people see this?
I will be posting it up on my YouTube channel, Cinematography Legends. I'll send you a text and tell you that it's up. I'm going to do some editing.
Send me do some editing. You know, leave the good lines in. I don't think I said anything that's controversial.